Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Ask yourself this question. Am I aware? To be aware is to know without thinking that you are here, not here in this room, but here. Not in the past, not in the future, but now, here now. If you know that you are here now, even in this embodied form, then you know that you are aware. The reason that you need to know, I am aware, here and now, is so that for a moment you can end your seeking. There is a difference between seeking and knowing, isn't there? When you are seeking something, even seeking the self, even seeking enlightenment, even seeking awakening, you are missing the point. The point is, you are here and you are aware. In the beginning, this feels like I am aware as a body-mind. But upon further investigation, you realize this body-mind, this form, while it's here and has sensations associated with it, and has thoughts associated with it, emotions associated with it, and so on, it's not the limit of who I am. This is an intuitive knowing. It's what's brought each one of you here. Some of you still think you are seeking, but it's actually the having found this intuitive knowing that you are aware, conscious, here, now, in this moment, without a past, without a future, here, now, aware. This intuitive knowing is what is calling you home. In order to make this recognition your own, however, you have to know that seeking is not knowing. Seeking is an activity of the mind. It's a response to some prior condition. So you have found something out about yourself, whether that something is that you are confused, distracted, uncertain, or whether it's the simple recognition that you are not the body. And the question rises then, who am I? Or you have come to know through your own struggle, through your own suffering, that you are not that suffering, that there is something else going on here. This also can lead you to the question, who am I? If I am not this, then who am I? So the sages tell us, ask this question, who am I? Who? Not just who suffers, but who meditates? Who is seeking? Who is the seeker? Who is aware? For it to be possible for you to know who you are, you have to know the difference between seeking and finding. Not mentally or conceptually, but experientially. And so I ask you to ask yourself, am I aware? And to notice that you know immediately that you are aware. Some of you will say, well, I am aware of this thought or this emotion or that experience. I am aware of that. But this is not what's being pointed toward. Awareness of objects, awareness of phenomenon, awareness of thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensation in the body, experiences, is always filtered through the misapprehension of me. Because I think I know who I am, I think I know something. I feel comfortable, I feel safe. If I don't know who I am, if I feel uncertain, if I doubt, I become frightened. And so I look around myself and I try to get the world to conform to whatever limited understanding I have of who I am. I try to shape all of the experiences, the thoughts, the emotions into a coherent projection, which I like to put out into the world to not only convince myself that I know who I am, but to convince other people that I am this person that is being projected. But once I put that projection out there, then I need to get all of you to believe that I'm that projection. This is a very high maintenance task. Some of you have noticed. This requires that you are always finding ways which support your self-image, the me image, not your self, capital S, but the me image, and the ways which do not. And you try to draw those things that you think will support this me image and project it appropriately to the rest of the world. And you will try to deny those things which don't fit into this me image. High maintenance, eh? Yes. This takes a lot of energy. It takes an enormous amount of energy to be who you are not. Yes. So I remind you to ask yourself, Am I aware? You can tell right away, as soon as you know, yes, awareness is here. That which is aware is here now. Even if I don't name it, even if I don't give it an object, it's just empty space. But that which is aware is here now. As soon as you notice that, this high maintenance task of maintaining an image within yourself and an image which you are projecting comes to an end. There's an immediate relief. In this relief, you begin to sink into this recognition that you are being consciousness. And some of you will become discouraged right away, because what will happen is that as soon as you come into this recognition, that which is aware is here now, within a few seconds, or certainly within a half a minute, the momentum of the projections which you've been sustaining for many, many years or many lifetimes will immediately enter the space of pure awareness. And this can feel like a distraction to you, can feel like it somehow is denying you the recognition that you are aware, or that you are that which is here as being consciousness. And so you feel like you're being denied something by what you feel is an untrained or a crazy mind, or a monkey mind. Something is always driving you outward. But I want to point out to you that if you look very carefully, and by look very carefully, I don't mean extend a lot of effort or expend a lot of effort. I mean, if you look very carefully, you can see that there is this natural tendency. And I say that intentionally. There's a natural tendency, so you can stop fighting with it and arguing with it and making it wrong. There is a natural tendency for that which is aware to dance between its pristine state and what the senses, the mind, the body, the experiences bring to it. This is a natural interaction that goes on continuously. The reason we get lost is because when we are involved in that projection, we think that's who we are. We forget that the field of awareness is where that projection is rising. You see? And without this natural awareness, this natural flow in and out doesn't happen. And a lot of what we do in spiritual practice, in meditation, in japa, in kirtan, in all of the spiritual practices, mindfulness of breathing and so on, and even in the inquiry, the question, who am I, is we are finding a way to gently remind ourselves when the awareness has gone out, as it does naturally, right? Through the contact of the senses, right? You can be sitting here perfectly still, in perfect awareness. And if there's a sharp noise, immediately that sense door of hearing opens, and the attention simply goes there. You cannot stop it. That's why I say it's the natural flow of what happens when an awareness comes into contact, awareness itself comes into contact with some object which is made available through one of the sense doors. So seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, or thinking. These are all sense doors. As soon as one of those sense doors receives a strong stimulus, before you can even blink, the attention has gone there. This is not a problem. This is the way of things. Welcome to having a body and mind. This is the nature of it. You know you agreed to it, so stop blaming it. And ask the question, so how can I use this? The way that we use this, in order to remind ourselves that we are here as being consciousness or awareness itself, is that we allow every experience that comes through body, mind, and world to be similar to a meditation bell or gong. When we first come to meditation, in certain settings, many of you know I came through a long 2 decades of Buddhist practice. One of the lovely things about Buddhist practice is at the beginning of the sit and at the end of the sit, there's this ringing of this beautiful chime. And I loved that so much. It took me 2 decades to realize that your laughter was also a bell, pointing back to the awareness itself. That the sound of a horn, a dog barking, a lorry going by, was not pointing to something I needed to get rid of. It was pointing to something I was aware of. And when I asked myself who was aware, the lorry, the dog, whatever, the horning, became a manifestation of awareness, not a problem. So I ask you to ask yourself, am I aware? Also under all of these different circumstances. And when you notice that one of the senses has called you out away from this pristine and natural awareness, understand that that is also the natural flow of living, of life, of having a body-mind. And the question isn't, how do I change this? The question is, how do I use it? How do I come to see this pristine and natural awareness in all that's rising and falling? Not as an object that needs to be brought closer so I can hold onto it, or pushed away so I can get rid of it, but rather, how can I use this, every being, every experience, every sensation, every thought, as a reminder, that which is aware is here now. This is a very simple and direct practice. It's so profound that most of you will miss it without some persistence in coming back to it. This is why Sri Bhagavan said, the self is closer than your breath. What he meant by that was, in order to know that you are breathing, first, you have to be aware. What I'm calling you to is to notice, first, that you are aware, then that you are breathing. If not, what you've done is stepped over, through, past your natural, pristine, open awareness and stepped right into some object. Many of you might ask, well, why would I do that? Once I know this, understand that at this moment, unless you are well practiced in remaining still and quiet, every time you step over awareness and step into an object, it raises a certain tension in you, a certain excitement, you can say. So it doesn't sound like I'm talking about a negative thing, but it is a tension. You will notice it. It's that same tension that I spoke about a moment ago when I said, have you noticed how much energy it takes to maintain this me? It's that tension that we become conditioned by and we become addicted to. This makes it very difficult for us to relax, to simply be here and allow life to unfold as it is, without any control or manipulation on our part. And as you begin to ask yourself, am I aware? Answer yes, and then sink into that field of awareness. You begin to notice every time the mind moves out toward this stress which it has become addicted to, the stress of objects, wanting to know, needing to understand, needing to change something, needing to fix something. Again, this is not a problem, it's just conditioning. And it's a natural way in which a mind entertains itself. When being aware as being consciousness seems boring or isn't enough. But with repeated asking this question, am I aware? The answer is yes. And the question is, who is aware? This does not need to be a big struggle. It's just something that needs to be done persistently. You need to come into the space of your own awareness, which is the gateway into being consciousness. Once you are in this gateway, there is nothing to do but sink more deeply into this recognition. I am aware. I am here. I am now. And slowly, slowly, a natural peace and calm will come over you. And eventually that peace and calm will be undisturbed whenever something comes to one of the sense doors or the mind. And the sense doors and the mind will be allowed to just do what they do, but this self-awareness is unmoved. Now one can dance with whatever comes in life. One can be aware under difficult circumstances, under challenges, because one knows the truth of one's nature as being and consciousness. So I encourage you, every satsang, to move into this simple remembrance throughout all of your activities. Am I aware? Yes. Yes. Let the natural peace, calm, enjoyment of your own being take everything in, but without the stress of attachment to objects. In this space or environment of your own being, you come to know that which is aware is here now, and I am that. And of course, when I describe it in this way, it can seem as though this is a mental activity, or as if I'm describing some practice that you can, method that you can, that you have to undertake continuously. But in practice, if you do this when you are sitting, especially in quiet like we are this morning, what you can notice is it doesn't take a lot of mental activity. Because this recognition, that awareness has gone out through one of the objects and is now resting in the object and now can be turned back to itself or brought back to itself. This happens quite spontaneously. With persistence, with the asking of this question, am I aware? Eventually this becomes a wordless process. That whatever has attracted the attention will go out into the object as it's naturally want to do. But there's then this recognition of coming back into awareness itself and resting or sinking into the awareness. And eventually this awareness stabilizes as the ground of being. And I'm only using these words and these concepts to try to give you a visual understanding of what's happening, so that when you see it, you recognize it. You have heard it before. And you can notice that something goes out and something comes back. But in the coming back and in the resting, there is a peace and there is a calm. And in the going out, there is a stress. As soon as this becomes clear to you, you don't need to think about it anymore. You simply stop it. And I don't mean you stop the going out. I mean, that you go live in a cave. I mean that you stop attachment to the going out. You stop identifying with the going out. And you simply notice that it's a function of having a body mind, having senses, and so on. And so then there's a natural return. And this becomes your home. And then it becomes possible, especially in moments of deep meditation like this morning or samadhi, becomes very, very obvious that to stay in this natural field of awakened, silent awareness is to be happy. This happens quite naturally. And the feeling is that nothing is lacking, and nothing needs to be sought, and nothing needs to be achieved, and nothing needs to be changed. And you become more and more naturally that which you are. All right, somewhere there is a talking stick which has the microphone for the recording on it. So if you would like to speak with me, ask a question, there it is. Please just raise your hand and we'll pass it to you. Hello, Anna.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Rishi. Thank you very much for everything you just shared with us. I have a very practical question. It happens that we have some decisions to take, and there are several options in front of us. And this is my case right now. And I really kind of I take my time to take the decision, and I witness the mind.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yes.
In the morning,
Yeah.
the mind is grasping one option, super happy, yeah, that's the good one. In the afternoon, grasping the second option. Oh no, that's go for it.
That's better, yeah.
And in the evening, it's the third option.
Yeah.
Well, I go to bed and no decision has been taken. So it's quite interesting to actually witness this. But I would like to know if you have any, how would I take or how would we take the decision without being led by the mind? In full mindfulness, how would Thich Nhat Hanh say? Yeah, so I said, for the moment, I'm just contemplating the options. And as I have time, I don't want to jump on whatever the mind is grasping. So what is your recommendation? How to take a decision, let's say the best way possible, at least without being led by the mental or the mind?
So first of all, notice that you're describing exactly what I was just talking about, which is the tendency of, unbroken, pristine, naked awareness to move into the objects. Okay, that first of all, understand that's the base condition that we were talking about this morning. But your question is, how do we make this decision? Or how do I do this? So first of all, what you are doing in terms of doing nothing, while you have several options on the table, this is always the best. Do nothing as long as there are several options on the table. The reason is eventually you come to see through what's driving the rising of those various options as you perceive them. Understand that they're not options that are there inherently on their own right. They are there because there is a part of you that sees them as viable and that sees that some option needs to be picked. In truth, no option needs to be picked. If you do nothing, eventually, there's only one option left, right? You do what you do. That's the option that's left. You do what you do. The option becomes obvious. That's what I mean by you do what you do. It's very simple in terms of life, isn't it? You simply run out of time and it appears you have to make a decision. There's only one option you can take at that time. But if you're in the period that you're in now, where you have the time to leave the 3 options or the 4 options on the table, then you can actually engage with each option in this field of awareness and feel the essence, if you will, of that option.
May I ask you what you mean by this? Like feeling the essence?
The essence of the option is to feel this will lead to awakening. This will not. When the mind is wrestling with all these options, it never asks that question. It wrestles with things as though they are, well, they appear to be facts. They are concrete. But if you are a sadhak, the primary concern is the experience of empty recognition of the self. Every one of the 3 or 4 options has within it the seeds of that recognition and will eventually lead you there. So there are no mistakes. This is important to understand. There are no mistakes. Whichever option ultimately gets chosen, whether it's by the mind or by the heart. But what we are wanting to do in this circumstance is to ask that question, which of these alternatives opens the heart? Does this lead me along the path of knowing? Or is this a distraction if I choose this option? Normally, if we sit with this for a couple of days, even if there are 3 or 4 or 5 options, normally the options start to fall out pretty quickly. We know pretty directly that this is the mental option, and this is the one that's going to have the unintended consequences that I'm not interested in. In terms of unintended consequences, I mean in terms of it will take me away from my focus on understanding who I am. And so now you have a decision to make about whether or not you are perhaps going to go into some old habit pattern, some old relationship pattern with some new person, or whether you are just going to remain as you are, aware and focused on this question, who am I? Normally, when there are a lot of options on the table, it's because the mind is actually poking around trying to find some distraction, something that will take it away from this deep investigation into this question, who am I? This is coming because the ego, or the personality, you can say, or the thoughts are feeling threatened by the sadhana, by the question, by the dissolution of the me into the self. And so that then all of these apparent options are there, but usually only one satisfies the heart, which is longing to know itself.
Thank you very much.
And it may not be the easy one either, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is pretty clear, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, experience tells us that often what we have to do is turn into the wind, not run away from it. And this is the hardest decision to make, is to turn into something that appears like it's the most difficult path. But often, in the life of a spiritual being, in the life of a sadhak, this is what's required. And all of the other apparent options are exactly what I said. They are the mind just trying to distract from that difficult appearance of a difficult journey or a difficult path to take. But if you keep in mind, remember how powerful intention is. In a way, we can say there's no intention. Intention isn't necessary. But to understand that you are here, at least partly, because you set the intention to look, to answer this question, who am I? And to come to Tiruvanamalai. And for some of you, that wasn't an easy choice. Some of you had to leave family behind, had to leave businesses behind, had to leave relationships behind. So you made a difficult choice, not because you were happy to make the choice, but because you had no other option. But it's a very different experience when you step into a difficult option consciously, knowing that the only intention you have behind taking the next step is to know unequivocally who you are. You will be guided into the only viable option if you surrender all of who you think you are in favor of who you really are. And even when you don't know who or what that is. That corner.
Thank you so much. I have the difficulty when I try to be aware that I find it more. I somehow have the need to anchor myself in something so that my awareness is not too much all over the place. So I use the body.
Yes.
Okay. So, but then
we all use the body, by the way. Yes.
Okay. And then a few days ago, I was here the first time. It was very inspiring. So it's not that the body good. So I moved it towards the like inside my head more, where I found that the senses come together, you know.
Yes, that's right.
And
experience shows that. Yes.
And then I know it's still not that. I understand that, of course. Then okay, then it moves out into space. Then I feel this space, but then it's again not that. It's driving me nuts. Because I understand whatever I can perceive is not that.
Are you aware?
I would say yes.
Who is aware? Where is that located? What is the locus of that awareness? Can you find that right now? You're saying, I look into my body and I can find some place to anchor. Can you find it? Can you find an anchor point?
Well, I understood from your last satsang that whenever I find an anchor point, it's not that.
Yes, but you see, there's a difference between what is ultimately true and where I am in this moment. And what you're describing is the need for an anchor point that is not in the mind, And so you say, I naturally look toward the body. So if I ask you, are you aware? You say,
Yes.
yes. Simple. You see, this is not complicated. The reason you cannot find this, that you say that to find this awareness, you try to find this awareness is difficult, is because you are trying to find the awareness. When I ask you directly, are you aware? You say,
Yes.
yes. You know it. You know this intuitively. You don't need to run this through the mind. So this eliminates the need for this trying, because the trying is happening in the mind. So go to the question, am I aware? Yes. No, you are aware. Yes. Are you aware? Yes. Okay. Now, this is the next question on the inquiry. Where is this awareness located? Tell me.
Everywhere.
It's located everywhere, but where does the...
Intellectually, I know that. I cannot perceive it.
Yeah, right. But I want you to tell me where it is. Point to it. You said you are aware. Show me where you are aware. Don't tell me it's everywhere.
No, I perceive it mostly inside of my head.
So if I say to you, where are you? Do you go here?
No.
What do? I say, where are you? Physically show me where you are. Look what you did. Here. I'm here. I'm here. This is the locus of awareness itself. Okay. This is the point of location for awareness itself, felt by every single being. Yes.
The heart.
Yes.
Ah, right. Good.
If I say to you, are you aware? You say yes. Where are you? Aware. Point, show me. Is your awareness here?
No.
Is your awareness here?
No.
Where is it? It's here. So this is the natural focal point. What we think, where we get lost, is we think that because we feel awareness itself is rising here, here, I am here, we feel awareness is rising here, that the indication is I must be the body. But that's not true. If you've ever been with someone who is in the moment of their passing, in the moment of their dying, as soon as they have left the body, you know right away the body becomes inert. There's nothing to it. But this feeling that awareness is here has a location perceived by the mind. It doesn't actually have a location, as you indicated, right? It's everywhere. But in this process of understanding who I am, it feels as though this I am is located here. Now, what we're talking about is a center of being, not a body. And this is what you need to penetrate next. So, when you do this inquiry that you're doing now, simply ask, am I aware? Yes. If necessary, where is this awareness? Not who is this awareness, but where is this awareness? This awareness is here. It is now. That's why in the beginning I said, please, everyone take a breath, take another breath. Know you are here. Know you are now. Where do you know you are here now? In the body, you know it here. I say, where are you? You say here. And by the way, as Bhagavan pointed out, this is common in every culture, in every language. If a person is asked, show me where you are, where are you? Every single culture person goes, I'm here. They point to the solar plexus, to the heart center, to the center of the body. But this is only the physical manifestation that's being felt at that point. So now I'm saying to you, where am I? I am here. Fall into that point. Fall into that space. Now I will tell you that you will have at some point the experience of falling into that space and the actual realization, perception that this self is everywhere. Now you have it as a concept. But if you come here and you realize that the center of being has a focal point, which is here, and you fall into it, eventually it opens up into everything. Okay?
So feeling the space inside and around me is the next step, basically. Understand?
Don't feel the space inside and around you. That's a doing.
It's a doing. Okay.
Just turn attention toward this feeling of I am, which is located here. I am, I exist, I know I am aware. This is the same thing. I am aware. I know that, and that's not located here, it's located here. So this is an actual, using the physical presence of the body to locate, you can say, the self in space, and then falling through it rather than going back out, falling through it. And we do this not with a lot of effort, but rather just by keeping the attention here. Awareness is here. You heard me say this the other day. I am aware. So you know that. You've already asked yourself the question, am I aware? Yes. So you know you are aware. You know that in that moment, because of the energy of the inquiry, you know that you are alert. In other words, you're not sleeping. So you know you are alert. Now, just keep looking toward that empty space. Don't let the mind go back out into one of its objects. Don't let it go back out into these conceptual conversations. Mm-hmm. And as I said earlier, that happens naturally at a certain point because of a loud noise outside, because of indigestion, because of a pain in your knee. That happens naturally. But as soon as that subsides to some degree where you realize that the attention has gone out again, bring it back to this point of recognition that that which is aware is here now. So this is both a conceptual practice that doesn't need a physical form, but it also can use this physical form. Remember the instruction that in this way of being, understanding who you are as being consciousness, one of the things that we do is we don't try to change everything. We don't try to solve every problem, but we try to use everything to return us to the recognition that being consciousness is here now. Okay, let me know how it goes. If you are doing it already, if you are doing it as I'm talking about it, then already you should be seeing that to sit here now as being consciousness is possible. It's the direct perception you are having at this moment. You don't need to manipulate anything. You don't need to go anywhere. Now, I will say this though. I want to caution you. Some people will try to do this practice when they're emotionally disturbed or upset. And then they will say, I don't understand it. I'm failing. I can't meditate when I most need to. But do understand that the going out of perception into objects, when the objects are really strong in terms of an emotional content or an emotional experience or an emotional memory, when this is happening, understand that until that level of emotion burns itself out a little bit, you are not going to be able to turn back to this still point. So understand that this is a naturally occurring event that has to happen. It happens, but you have no identity in it. This is the difference, right? Because in the past, if you have this difficult memory, this difficult emotion, this difficult challenging circumstances arising with another person, with a situation, what you do is identify with it right away. But if you begin to see that this is the movement of energy in the space, you will come to realize that that which you are is that which is aware of the movement in the space. Okay? And you will quite naturally, when that energy begins to subside a little bit, you'll quite naturally come back into this recognition that you are aware. And the reason I want to say that to you, the reason I do say that to you is to remember, to try to remind you that to try to corral these very difficult moments of emotion and thinking and so on, and stuff them into the meditation box, it's not going to work. It's actually going to feel like you are suppressing what wants to be there, what needs to be looked at. Doesn't need to be identified with, but it may need to be examined in some way, or it may need, at the very least, need to be held with a loving embrace until its drama and its trauma is over, and then it can be let go again. Okay? So this is definitely necessary from time to time, that we hold ourselves, we hold our experience and so on in a loving embrace, and we hold that loving embrace so that the energy can eventually work itself out, but all the while knowing that we are that which is aware of this experience. We are not that which is identified with this experience. You know the difference. You all know the difference between when you are simply aware and when you are identified. It's not something that you need to be shown typically. If it's pointed out to you, you know it right away. It's within your direct perception that there's a difference between that which you identify with and that which you are observing. And maybe even needing to hold and cuddle a little bit in order to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel okay.
Yes. Yes, Rishi. I would like you very much to speak about specifically about physical pain. I was very interested 2 days ago when I came for Satsang to hear you say that a physical pain as any other object, be it mental or physical, would be made of space. And this really changed my relationship to it. So I would like to go a bit further in it. Prior to this, so I hurt my back pretty bad 10 days ago or so. And I have this very strong sciatic and it's very intense pain during the night. And so at first, what I was able to do was just to sort of being quiet in the experience, just relax into it and be as still as I could be. But then my relationship with the pain was very tight, very, very close. And then suddenly you
the mental relationship with the pain, you're meaning?
No, the energetic relationship was very tight, close. I was really trying to relax within the pain, but then I was within it. And then suddenly you came with this perspective of this being made of space. And I could really feel the difference these past 2 nights. Like suddenly I could move again. Like I could flow into a much wider space.
Yes.
And what I noticed immediately was I'm not sure that the pain actually recedes, but certainly me awareness being in a much bigger volume makes it much quieter. And
yes.
But then, of course, the function physical pain has a very strong it magnetized very, very, very strongly. And then I would spend my time moving, flowing quietly in this space, and being attracted to the very dense form of the pen.
Yes,
and
beautiful. You can see that. Yes.
Yeah. So I just wondered if you have some practical wisdom to share about this.
No, just keep going. Just keep going, because what's happening is you're breaking down your conceptual mental relationship with what pain is. Okay? Just to put it in as a way of saying it. But we can talk all day about breaking down our mental and conceptual beliefs about what pain is, but what you are doing is actually stepping into them directly. And so this opening, this spaciousness, this okayness
Yes.
with what is here, and wanting to know what the true nature of your experience is, not what your conceptual belief about what your experience is, that it's difficult or it's painful or you shouldn't be having it, or you'll never get through it, or when all of that breaks down, the pain either leaves completely, eventually it leaves completely, or you begin to see that the way that the pain moves, when you no longer have concepts about it, is like a breath. It comes and goes, or like a wave, it comes and goes. And it's coming and going in what? So the next question for you, when you're in that space, is who is having this experience?
Yeah. Well, this is pretty much there already. It's just like, even though my attention, my awareness is attracted to the pain, the space in which it happens doesn't move. Even if I leave it, it doesn't leave me somehow, something like this.
Keep going. Keep going.
So I never already experienced pain in my body before, not to this extent. So this was really practical as well. Do you think this moving in space, because there must be a meaning to pain? I mean, or a use.
There must be
a meaning to be in pain, a motive or not. And I was
if
wondering,
there is a meaning and a
yes,
motive, the only one I could ever see is it's trying to get you to stop and look at what's here.
yeah.
And as soon as you are willing to do that, to look through your concepts, look through your misconceptions, look through the misunderstanding, I am the body. As soon as you are willing to penetrate that, then it begins to open up. And that's the experience you're having now.
Yes.
Challenge the belief that you are the body, that you are the pain, that the pain is real. Not as a, I'm saying this like, at some moments you do need to really be willful, you can say, about challenging these concepts, but ultimately you come to realize that the less effort you make to change what is, and the more you are willing to open the heart and open the sense of beingness, so that you come to the understanding that all of this, whether it's pleasurable, painful, or neutral, is rising in the space of awareness. Then awareness is not right. You said, I think at one moment you said, my awareness goes to the pain. So understand that there's another opening that can happen. And that is that the pain is floating in the awareness. And that's what you're beginning to have now. The attention can definitely go to the pain. But there's a difference between attention, which is called out by an object, right? Sight, taste, seeing, body, sensation, mind. That's being called out. That's where attention can go. But when attention is firmly resting on that which is aware, or in, not even on, because it's not an object, that which is aware is known as being consciousness, then it can be seen that pain is something else which is floating in, and occasionally the attention will be drawn there because of the degree of the pain will be drawn there. But it doesn't need to stay there. It can open and merge with the space again as awareness itself, or as consciousness. And then it can be seen that, over in this corner of awareness, pain is there. But there's no movement toward it anymore. This, what you said, I see the attention moving toward the pain. Yes. When the recognition that that which is aware is strong enough, and here now is strong enough, the attention stays in this field of awareness. It is as this field of awareness. It doesn't stay in it because it's not an object. It is what it is, right? So we stay in as this field of awareness. And then it can be seen that over here is the pain bubble, and over here is the thought bubble, and over here is the hearing bubble, and over here is it's like this.
Yeah, that's very clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's why I say keep going, just keep opening the heart, keep being in the space. And this is really, to do this at night is really challenging. And I talked about that as a experience which I've had over many years ago. because it's so quiet and it's so silent, and there's just nowhere to go, and there's no distraction that you cannot distract yourself from it. And so you just have to be in it. But this is what makes it possible, by asking the question, who is here, what is here, makes it possible for the field of awareness to become more obvious, and then what is the objects in the field to become less interesting, or to become perceived in their true nature as a projection of some sort of the mind, of the conceptual mind, and then to be dropped. You can see all this happening. So you're very close. Just keep going. Use this pain in this way. Be grateful for the opportunity. Yeah.
Yes.
This is also Arunachala's grace and Arunachala's blessing. So as we come to see whatever is going on here in our experience here in Tiruvannamalai and around the feet of Holy Arunachala, in Bhagavan's grace, we want to come to see that everything that we are experiencing possesses within it the opportunity for self-realization. This is why I say all the objects, when they're perceived correctly, they are a bell of mindfulness, turning us toward the recognition that though this situation may be difficult, confusing, I don't understand it in some way, I don't know what's happening, I'm really challenged by this, I still understand that this is the bell of mindfulness leading me back to the recognition that that which is aware is here now. And if I can rest in that awareness, whatever is happening out here in the field is ultimately going to solve itself. And the way it solves itself is that the right action in terms of our question over here was, what is our intention, which is to awaken or to be here now as being consciousness. When that is our intention, then the right movement toward that intention just happens because of the space of awareness which we are holding, which is much bigger than the alternatives or the pain.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Okay, back over here. Hello.
How do we always in the mood of joy, like especially when I'm sad and all? When I'm sad, it's very difficult for me. Like I know that it's suffering. Everything is in just illusion and just it's in head. I know that. Like I just go out of it and then I see it and it's nothing, literally nothing. But like and at the same time, I'm not able to transcend to the next level of the state, like happiness or joy or the better states than that, in spite of knowing that like it's nothing, or it really means nothing to me, honestly.
What means nothing to you?
I'm in sadness or whatever that I'm suffering or whatever it's happening, it's just like it's nothing, but still I'm not able to go in the next states of.
Well, so the next stage is to come to where I'm just pointing her, which is the recognition that that which is aware is here now, and what it is aware of is sadness. What it is aware of is suffering. Because if you don't, what happens is you stop at the suffering, you stop at the sadness, and one of two things happens. Either you try to swish it out of the way like it doesn't exist, or you try to suppress it.
Okay.
The third alternative is to open the heart of awareness so that there's a relationship with that which is aware of sadness. You see, sadness is a concept. Suffering is a concept. This is a bundle of thoughts you have about a particular experience. And when those thoughts are organized in a certain way, you label that sadness, and then you have a reaction to it based on past experience. Now the alternative that's being pointed toward here is to look at the sadness and ask the question, what is aware of this sadness? Now I am not so interested in the sadness. I'm interested in what's aware of the sadness. This is the way to use every opportunity to turn toward that which is conscious, that which is aware. And to do this, we use this question. What is aware of this?
Okay. Does it same for even when I'm very joyful and then excited?
Does it?
Same for when I'm really
Yes,
very
yes,
excited and
yes,
joyful, and then
yes.
I'm
The same
really
for when you are excited and you are enjoying and you're having a lot of pleasure. Understand that when you are excited and enjoying and having a lot of pleasure, it's actually much harder to ask this question.
yeah.
But one of the things that you know is it's just like eating too much sweets, right? When you start eating sweets, oh, this is so good. I'm so happy. This is so good. It tastes so good. But after an hour, you just want to throw it all up to get rid of it, to stop it, because it's, you've overdone it. And so the same thing is also true with experiences, with thoughts, with sensations, which are very pleasurable. You will try to grab them and hold them and keep them in their pleasurable state. And then, of course, what will happen is that very effort will make them unpleasant before long. So yes, it's much more difficult to, that's why we say in Advaita it's said, and Bhagavan said repeatedly, let what comes come, and let it stay for its duration, let it stay for its natural period of time, if it has one, and then let it go. So this works directly against this tendency to cling to things that are very pleasurable and to reject things which are not pleasurable, which are unpleasant or challenging. So we keep coming to this recognition that which is aware sees a particular experience, sensation, and so on arise. We see that it lasts for a period of time, short or long, and then we see that it falls. And this is by this very recognition of the impermanent nature of phenomenon, the impermanent nature of objects, we come to see that we are that which is aware of whatever is rising in the field of awareness, whether it is sadness or it is pleasure. We aren't attached to either.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Presence and meditation.
Presence and meditation.
Presence and meditation, yes. Oh, which one is first? What's the difference?
Presence is first. Presence is associated with this recognition, that which is aware is here now. That is presence. So presence is aware. It's alert. In other words, it knows I'm here. It's not asleep, and it's empty. This is presence. It has no object. It simply knows I am. This is presence. Meditation, in the formal sense of all of the spiritual traditions, has as a prerequisite the very notion of I or me. And the reason is that almost all of the meditations other than inquiry are all based in the preservation of this I-ness, which is doing a meditation form or japa or something like that, or mindfulness of breathing, whatever the object is. There's a necessary, even very subtle, can be very subtle, almost undetectable sense of I is necessary in order to be doing the meditation or practicing the meditation. Okay. So this is the fundamental difference between formal traditional meditation. And it's not to say that formal traditional meditation isn't useful, because all the forms of meditation ultimately lead to the question, who is meditating? This happens spontaneously. If it's not pointed out to you, it will happen spontaneously. This was my experience. For many years, I was long time meditator, meditating many hours every day, and came one day to having pushed the body and mind to such an extreme that I was literally in constant pain for many days at a time, pushing, and spontaneously arose this question, who meditates? And it caused the entire investigation to turn and attempt to find this who. And in a moment, there was the recognition that I was that which was here, not, there was no meditator, that the meditation was finished. It had been understood in that way. And everything changed from that moment. And that happened spontaneously. And I was very fortunate because at the moment that that happened, or within this time frame of what felt like a moment, but might have been a few hours, I had the vision of Bhagavan standing in front of me saying, see, I told you. And I had struggled against that simple teaching of the question of who am I for many years, partly because I was invested in being a Buddhist teacher. And you hate to give up you put 20 years into something and boy, there's a whole nother alternative identity that develops. And then you become enmeshed in that. But then when this question, who is the meditator, arose, and it was so clearly dissolved, you can say. And there was just this clear, naked, pristine awareness, which was there and just lasted, really, I can say, till this day. And then my master, who I knew was my master, but I'd never had any direct contact with him. I'd never had a vision of him. I'd never had a dream of him, like they say in all the books, Bhagavan came to me, came to the foot of my bed and blah, blah, blah. I'd never had any of that. But that's partly because I was coming from this very austere Buddhist tradition where there is none of this. And so, when that happened, then I could just laugh because I had seen the way that years and years of effort, struggle, and so on just fell to the floor. This whole identity just shattered as the seeker, not as the Buddhist. Please, if you're a Buddhist practitioner, please continue if that's your way. But this whole identity of the seeker, whatever your path, shattered and fell. And then there was this recognition that which is aware is always here, but it can never be seen, can never be pointed to. When I gave him the instruction of said, where are you? And he said, I'm here. That he can do because he has a body. I am here. So there's this feeling that I am located in time and space here, where this body is. So that happens. And fortunately for everyone, because it's a good pointer. But at the moment of recognition, all of that dissolves. You cannot say I'm here. You are inside, outside, beginning, end, right? There's nothing but this recognition. So if you have this anchor of a meditation practice, you can continue to use it, but understand that it's leading you to ask the question, who is the meditator? That's where you will end up. So in times of uncertainty or in times of physical pain or something, if you have some method, some tradition that you use, some teaching that you use that brings you more easily into a state of recognizing the peace and calm which is in the heart of your own being, then certainly use that. But now you have the ability to tie that with the inquiry. Who is the meditator?
Yes, thank you. And one more for me to come back to presence, I can every moment, not I can, but maybe it's possible during the day. But for meditation, I need to take separate special time for practice. But to turn my attention inwards, I can during the day all the time to do this. When doing some,
Yes.
I don't know, some
Yes.
being with my kids.
Yes, that's why we don't say presence is a formal practice like we say meditation is a formal
Yes.
practice. Because we have to establish the right conditions. The first condition to establishing a formal practice in meditation is to believe that I am meditating. That's the first condition.
Yeah.
And everything else we do around is to support that. But this presence is what you are. It's not what you are becoming. You're not discovering something new. So come into this presence. Know that you are aware. Know that you are awake. Know that you are not sleeping. Know that you are in the activity that you're in, but that the mind, as much as possible, given your level of maturity, your level of presence, remains empty. So now you just do the activity and it takes care of itself and everything gets done and you don't feel exhausted at the end even, because the mind has remained still, empty, alert, and poised for whatever's here. Presence.
Thank you.
In the Yoga Vasishtha Sara, he says, just as the trembling of the body caused by the imaginary snake persists for some time, even after realizing there is no snake, so also the effect of delusion persists for some time, even after getting rid of all delusions.
Yes.
Why and what to do about it?
Why is because there's a momentum to experience. When we have experience repeated over and over, such as the experience of fear of the snake, when that, if you live, you see how terrified many, many people are of snakes, living here especially. When that creates a kind of a groove, you can say, in the mind. And so that experience, that track is going to stay there, right? Like a wagon wheel, right? It's going to stay, that groove is going to stay there long after the wagon is gone. And the next wagon that comes along is going to fall in that groove and the wheel is going to get stuck again and it's going to be affected by that groove. So this is just the momentum of conditioning. Okay, so this is the answer to why. What to do about it? That answer never changes for me. Remain aware. Know that you are aware. By that I mean, in this example, that when you recognize that conditioning is here, you are conditioned to be afraid of the snake. Now, when you feel that shimmer, that shake, that fear rising, first look and see if that's a snake or it's a rope. Don't just react automatically. Now you have some presence which has developed. And this has evolved or developed or become firmer because of this question or this noticing. That which is aware is here now. So now we have some presence in which we are moving through the delusion. The more presence there is as we move through what used to be the delusion of the snake, the more likely it is we will see the rope. So we just keep going. We don't become distracted. This is this whole game that we as seekers and often play in spiritual process of thinking that every time we feel that shimmy, that shake, what did he call it?
Not a shimmy, but
Yeah, it was something.
Just the effect of delusion, the trembling.
Trembling. So every time we feel that trembling in the body, we think, oh, this is a very good indicator that I am not awake. And because I feel this trembling, that's proof that I am not the self. This is also a delusory thought of the ego that wants to keep us trapped in its own function. Trembling is trembling. Period. Are you aware of it? If you are aware that trembling is here, stop. Don't stop trembling. Just stop. Oh, this is trembling. Know that that is conditioning and return to empty space. Right? Again, I was talking in the beginning about the way the mind goes out and comes back. So when you notice trembling, notice it with wisdom. This is trembling. This is conditioning. Fall back. Come back. This is the bell of mindfulness using trembling. Now I am aware that this conditioning was here. It might stay for a period of time. I can see it go. When it goes, this awareness which was here in which this trembling arose, noticed it and fell, that was unfazed, untouched by it. So this is the way. We use what we know in terms of our own experience to help guide us through what rises on the screen of awareness. So we cultivate wisdom and we cultivate silence and we cultivate peace and we cultivate non-reactivity all at the same time. And this sounds like a big chore, but it's not, because we're doing it as a natural way of having realized that I am that which is aware. I am not that trembling. I am not that snake. I am not that whatever. I am not that. Not that, not that, not that. The simple and quick way is just not that, not that, not that. Neti, neti. And then the question, who am I, naturally rises. Are you aware? Of course you are. Okay.